Hey, welcome back. It's Back to the Basics. I'm Sean Barr, and at Looking Point, we help IT organizations make decisions around collaboration, security, and networking. Today, we're talking about what we would do from a greenfield deployment standpoint. This is part 3 in our series, and we're talking security. Let's go! Alright, we're back, and so in the first couple of videos we talked about what we would do from a WAN selection perspective in this Greenfield network. Now let's move on to security. So there's 3 things that we need to think about. There's authentication and authorization. There's policy. How do we enforce our policy, our security policy? And the third thing is logging and visibility. So let's talk about the first, authentication and authorization. So we need some AD, Active Directory, some directory service or source that has all of our user information, password information contained in it. And then we're going to use that information to authorize people on the network. And that's either from a port connectivity perspective or from a wireless perspective when they walk into the office. And if a user's connecting in over VPN, they can use that same authentication directory to log in. The second part of authentication is two-factor. Now, in a modern network today, with all of the things going on out there from a security perspective, we need to be thinking about two-factor authentication. So there's many providers out there that can do it in the cloud, or you can have your own on-premise solution. But either way, you need to have two-factor authentication. So in this Greenfield deployment, I would have some authorization source, either an Active Directory server or other, LDAP, picket, to hold my users and passwords. The second thing I would have is a cloud-based two-factor authentication service. That's not to say I wouldn't do on-premise, but I would typically go cloud-based because most likely you're going to be using other apps like Office 365 and others that will integrate with this two-factor authentication platform. So, moving on to visibility. Now, when the network's deployed, I want to have visibility into the entire network. I want to be able to see things, traffic, all of the stuff that's going on. So I would want something that does syslog. I would want something that does SNMP. I would want something that does NetFlow. And there's a lot of other security tools out there that do all types of correlation of traffic. But those 3 things, SNMP, syslog, and NetFlow, if I had those, that would be a good foundation for me to get visibility into my environment, and so I could see what's actually happening. That paired with my authentication and two-factor authentication services, I would be able to see who's logging in, where they're connecting from, what they're connecting from, and I would also be able to see what traffic is being sent across the network. The last thing is policy. Now, we've talked a lot about security policy. You can build a security policy, a piece of paper. We're talking about policy enforcement. So there's firewalls, there's anti-malware protection, there's endpoint protection. All of those things I would be thinking about strategically where in the network I'm going to put those. So when we talk about firewall policy, I would be thinking about my edge services connecting to the internet. What firewall am I going to have there? From an endpoint perspective, I'd be thinking about what endpoint protection I'm going to have. So what am I going to deploy on the actual laptops and mobile devices to ensure that security is maintained. Now, all of these tools will provide me more visibility and telemetry into my security environment. So that's it. Those are the 3 things: authentication, visibility, and policy. There's a lot of things under the hood that go along with that. I tried to cover the high levels of all the things I'd be thinking about. If I said anything in this video that you're like, hey, love to know more about that, make sure you leave a comment, make sure you like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next Back to the Basics. Thanks for watching.